Yo, hey guys. I've been getting quite a few questions on how healing works in Throne and Liberty, kind of in anticipation of the global release, so figured I'd throw a quick video together to show you guys how it works. I'll just kind of show off some mechanics, how it actually plays, skills and abilities, passives and actives to look at, and then we'll look at attributes for gear and weapons that you should look out for when you're putting together a healer. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about how this works. So the first thing you gotta know is in Throne and Liberty, all your skills are based on the weapons you have equipped, and you can have up to 2 weapons equipped at one time. There's really only one healing weapon in Throne and Liberty, and that's the Wand and Tome. So if we open up our skills here, we can look at the skills available. There are 2 main healing skills we care about. They are Swift Healing, which is a single target heal. It does pretty good healing. As you can see, 310% of base damage plus 87, and that'll kind of level up and scale. But its goal is to keep a single target alive, either you or one of your party members. Then the other big healing ability is Clay's Salvation. It's a little more potent, 520% of base damage plus 219, and it's an AoE around you as the healer, as the caster. So you can't target where it is, it's always around you. Which is interesting and kind of makes healing a very active process, which I actually appreciate quite a bit when you're in a boss fight or something, and you know, one of your tank is just getting wailed on, or you got a DPS that's like over in the corner and they're about to die. You actually have to run to them to get them close enough so you can pop that AoE heal and get them back alive. It just makes healing like super engaging. I'll show you how these work quick just so you guys have an example. We'll just zip down here and get in a fight with a couple of lizards. Ooh, 2 snakes. Okay, this might get a little dicey here. That's alright. We'll pop that little self-heal. The single target, as you can see, it was like 500. Not terrible. And then we'll do the AoE heal, which should be, yeah, it's like pretty potent. That thing does a lot. It's a longer cooldown. The self-heal's back up already, so we can keep popping that. Now we'll see if we can blast these away quick. Okay, I think we got it. I've kind of got a hybrid build going on. I'm damage focused. One of the things to note here is that, as I said, there's always 2 weapons equipped. So you'll have Wand and Tome, and then something else. The choice there isn't super set in stone. People have been playing with a bunch of different stuff, but there's kind of 2 front runners, and we'll talk about both of those quick. So this is kind of my leveling build. It's a little different. It's more damage focused with Wand supplementing it. But again, if you want to focus on healing and be a healer for group content, your setup will probably look something a little bit more like this. So this is a setup that is actually Wand and Longbow. Longbow is an interesting second choice because it has a little bit of like crowd control and some like status effect removal and stuff like that. This is a good example. Purifying Touch, in addition to that core set we talked about before, is a pretty good support skill. Removes 1 CC effect from selected target and then kind of buffs them a little bit. Another good one in this arsenal is Nature's Blessing. It creates an area that increases health regen naturally, so it's basically healing. Again, so if you want to be super heal focused, Longbow's not a bad move. And then beyond that, you're kind of just running this core set of heals we talked about before, that Swift Healing and Clay's Salvation. And then you're going to have some extra slots on your bar here. You can put some extra damage stuff in here. Eventually, once you get up there, you'll put Blessed Barrier on. It's a super good support skill. Increases healing and kind of gives a bit of a buff to whoever. Again, you'll have some damage stuff in the kit just by virtue of having 12 ability slots available. Then let's talk about passive. So passive skills in this game are just abilities that you don't cast, but you can select them from your weapons pools. So each weapon has, 4, 5, 6, 7 passives available. For healing builds in general, we will just be rolling these kind of core set on the Wand and Tome. Devotion and Emptiness is skill heal during the day, skill damage over time at night, so it'll just make you a better healer straight up. Wraith's Beckon is a curse. It's really for damage, but again, you're going to end up doing some damage anyway, so that one's not too bad. Vampiric Contract here restores health of a friendly target when you are doing damage with a curse. So if you're putting a lot of curses on, it'll then heal friendly targets, you or your health or your current targets. So that can be pretty good if you're curse focused, which is what the wand kind of excels at on the side. Noble Revival, skill heal, increased per max mana. Saint's Oath, on taking damage, applies heal recovery. It's just, these are all like super helpful skills. This one will like stack up to 10 times over time and make your healing more effective. And then Selfless Soul increases mana regen and skill heal passively whenever you cast a buff, so it gets stacked up and it outputs, makes your healing output much higher as well. These passives are all pretty good. There's a couple you can throw on from the bow side. Distorted Sanctuary will give you a little bit more endurance for every party member within like 16 meters of you. So if you're the healer in the middle trying to keep everybody alive, that can be helpful. And then the last one's kind of a toss up. You can, I think a lot of people run Devoted Shield here. So when weakened, you have a chance to create a shield of 3,000 health that lasts for 3 seconds. So it can kind of be a little bit of a get out of jail free card if you're going down quickly. The other option is Wand and Staff, like I was just running, but you could again run it a little more healing focused than what I was talking about before. The passives here are similar on the Wand side, that same set we talked about, but then you'll also want to take on some from the Staff. This Mana Amp is good, max mana increase, always handy, and then I don't know how to say this, asceticism, however you say that, increases mana regen by 31.5, so that can be good too if you're running low on mana especially, which you may be able to gear out of eventually, but those two can be quite helpful for a healer build. And then as far as additional skills that the Staff brings to the table that you'd want to run in addition to those wand skills we talked about earlier, there's a couple good crowd controls here. Icebound Tomb will ensnare a target and lock them in ice so they can't really do anything. It can be super helpful if you want to play more of that support role. Inner Peace will increase your mana regen by 600%, so you kind of like cast it, you stand still, and your mana like regens really quick, which can be handy in a fight, especially if you're solely focused on healing and mana is your resource. That can be quite potent. Frost Smokescreen might have some good utility as well. When you cast it, you kind of dash backwards and leave an ice zone on the map or on the ground in front of you that will slow enemies, so it can kind of give you a little bit more mobility and help you get away from stuff, which can be kind of helpful in sticky situations. So yeah, you've got a couple of viable options there to pair with the wand. You can either do Staff or Longbow, and there's some like those are both very viable, at least from what I've seen thus far. So let's hop to town. We'll look at some of the stats you want to look for on weapons and gear if you're doing a healing focused build. So the big stats we care about here are max mana, obviously. Cooldown speed is super helpful. Mana regen, where's mana regen? There it is. Mana regen is going to be super handy. And then other than that, buff duration can be kind of good if you can stumble into it. With that in mind, again, our goal is just to have as much mana as we can and be able to pop our skills as quickly as possible. Wisdom is going to be the stat that we're putting as many points as we can into right away. Then after that is kind of a balancing act between dexterity and perception. The more you put into dexterity, you'll be a little bit more survivable. So if you're taking a lot of damage and you find yourself, needing to kind of panic out or heal yourself, maybe pump up the dexterity a little bit. Then perception, because it is going to actually increase the accuracy of attacks, CC of effects, increase max and min damage, it can kind of pump up our just healing rate a little bit more. So if you really want to focus on just maximizing your healing, probably perception next. But again, dexterity isn't really a bad choice either, because it's gonna help with critical attacks and stuff like that. Those are really the stats that we're looking for on our gear as well. As I said, like max mana, cooldown speed, mana regen, and buff duration. Cooldown speed is pretty rare on gear, so really you're just looking for like max mana, mana regen, skill damage, etc. As you're leveling, it can be a little bit tricky to find these things, but just kind of look at the cloth pieces at each tier, and that's usually what you'll be looking for. For example, this will give you attack speed, and mana regen, critical hit, weaken chance we don't want to. So if you're at the tier where you're crafting blue gloves, you probably want the Icy Storm cloth gloves because they've got that mana regen. And then as you level up and you can look online and figure out how trait rolls work, I'll put a link in the description of how you can kind of figure out how traits work in this game, because it's kind of complicated. But eventually you'll start caring about that as well, and then you'll have to make decisions based on that. But again, just keep in mind, max mana, mana regen, buff duration are really what you're going for as you level. And I think that's about it. So I'll leave you guys with that. If you have any questions or you're looking for like super specific specific builds, hop in the Discord server. I'll have more detail there, and I'll be able to answer questions if you're kind of trying to figure out how to level or what gear to look at, that kind of thing. I always love people coming in and answering questions. But other than that, thanks for tuning in. Good luck in Throne and Liberty.